A Nazi woman in shackles stands silently during the war crimes trial, her eyes filled with bitterness and shame as the weight of her horrific actions and countless lives destroyed hangs heavy in the courtroom air. Defendants cast down their eyes, overwhelmed by the enormity of their crimes and the certainty of punishment, their faces devoid of humanity or remorse. Women forced into sexual slavery, their broken bodies and spirits hidden behind barbed wire fences and silence. The echo of chains dragging prisoners to the gallows, each step a countdown to a merciless death sentence. Children frozen in terror as soldiers separate them from their mothers. The sound of mothers' screams piercing the cold air. A mutilated corpse hanging from a tree, a brutal warning etched into the landscape of fear and oppression. Prisoners forced to dig their own graves, the final act of submission before the bullet ends the nightmare. The face of a child covered in ash, eyes wide with disbelief after surviving the horrors of a destroyed village. A gas chamber filled with smoke and silent death, the walls soaked with the memories of those who never breathed again. Torturers smiling as they watch their victims writhe in pain, finding pleasure in the destruction of hope and humanity. Mass graves filled with bodies piled so high they touch the sky, a grotesque mountain of humanity's darkest hour. The last letter from a prisoner pleading for mercy, torn apart by censorship and despair before it could be sent. The courtroom overflows with journalists capturing every moment of this historic trial, each image preserving the relentless pursuit of justice for the victims. An orphaned child clutching a tattered blanket, standing alone among the ruins where laughter once lived. The cold metal of shackles biting into skin, wrists bruised from endless nights chained in darkness and fear. Soldiers forcing prisoners to watch as loved ones are executed, breaking spirits one soul at a time. The haunting silence of empty barracks, filled only with echoes of suffering and the ghosts of those who died there. Women beaten to unconsciousness for resisting, their bruised bodies a testament to war's relentless cruelty. A row of blood-stained uniforms hanging in a line, reminders of lives lost and innocence destroyed. The slow drip of blood from a prisoner's broken fingers, each drop marking another stolen life. Children forced to scavenge among ruins for scraps of food, their faces gaunt and eyes empty. Prisoners' desperate attempts to communicate through walls, sharing stories of horror and clinging to fading hope. The shadow of a firing squad cast long over frozen ground, silence broken only by the final shots. An empty gas chamber looms ominously, its walls soaked with the silence of countless screams and the inescapable shadow of death. A mother's last embrace before her child is torn away, a moment suspended between love and unimaginable loss. Posters demanding justice adorn the courtroom walls, a stark reminder that truth and remembrance are the strongest weapons against oblivion. The devastating explosion over a peaceful city leaves behind only smoke and rubble, a frozen moment of violence that forever scars the landscape and memory. Soldiers ruthlessly shoot defenseless civilians, extinguishing lives without hesitation as the machinery of war grinds mercilessly onward. The judge delivers the final death sentence, his words ending the lives of those who once wielded terror, turning history's page toward justice. A Nazi woman stares coldly, the swastika on her sleeve marking her as an agent of hatred, embodying the cruelty of a brutal regime now held accountable. Bloodstains mark the courtroom floor, grim evidence of the violence and suffering recently inflicted beneath the roof of justice. A witness clutches photographs of loved ones lost to war, each image a painful reminder of personal tragedy amid mass suffering. An emaciated concentration camp prisoner stares blankly ahead, his gaunt face a silent witness to the brutal torture, starvation, and inhumanity he endured. Embodying the nightmare millions were forced to survive. An orphaned child watches her home burn, flames consuming memories and dreams alike. The face of innocence lost to the chaos of conflict. Interrogation footage shows a suspect screaming in pain, a raw display of the brutal price paid in the pursuit of hidden truths. The courtroom holds its breath during sentencing, the oppressive silence a testament to the gravity of the moment and the lives forever changed. A war criminal's face twists with hatred and fear, revealing the conflicted humanity behind monstrous deeds committed in war. A victim of medical experiments stares vacantly, her expression haunting evidence of the cruelty inflicted under the guise of science. Execution. Sight photographs expose the cold finality of wartime justice, grim reminders of lives lost and crimes punished. Victims' posters boldly proclaim, "Remember and never again." Voices from the past pleading for a future free of such horrors. A burnt synagogue stands as a silent witness to hatred and cultural destruction, its charred walls a scar on history's conscience. Two children hold hands amid the ruins, fragile symbols of hope and resilience, standing against the darkness of war. An accused collapses to their knees in the courtroom, pleading for mercy, as justice demands reckoning and closure. The judge's voice echoes through the courtroom as he reads the damning verdict, sealing the fate of those accused of crimes against humanity with no possibility of escape or redemption. A glass case displays the belongings of victims: glasses, suitcases, toys, silent witnesses to lives stolen by war's cruelty. A mother screams as her child is torn from her arms by soldiers, the chaos of war ripping families apart in moments of unbearable horror and despair. Bodies stacked like firewood in a mass grave, their faces frozen in terror. A grotesque testament to genocide hidden beneath the forest floor. The smell of burning flesh lingers in the air as the remains of a village incinerated by air raids smolder. Survivors left with nothing but ashes and grief. A man forced to watch the execution of his family. Shackled and powerless, his silent screams swallowed by the cold stone walls. Women forced into brutal labor camps, their spirits broken, bodies marked by scars, and the invisible wounds of relentless cruelty. The anguished cries of prisoners echo through the night as they endure endless torture, their humanity stripped away piece by piece. A child's lifeless body lies in the rubble, a haunting reminder that innocence is the first casualty of war. A guard raises a whip over trembling prisoners, ready to strike, a symbol of merciless domination and the crushing of hope. Soldiers firing into crowds of unarmed civilians, turning streets into rivers of blood under the indifferent sky. A column of prisoners of war is led mercilessly to their execution, their terrified eyes reflecting the cold reality that human life is expendable amid the brutal machinery of war. An executioner's hand trembles as he prepares to pull the trigger, the weight of sanctioned murder heavy on his conscience. Victims' clothes hang on barbed wire fences, stained with blood and dirt, relics of lives shattered and forgotten. The cracked, tear-streaked face of a survivor staring into the abyss, haunted forever by unspeakable horrors. Children huddled in cold corners, starving and sick, their hollow eyes pleading for salvation that never comes. A prison cell smeared with blood and despair, where hope died long before the prisoners did. The slow, agonizing death of victims exposed to chemical weapons, their bodies convulsing in unrelenting pain. A row of gallows sways in the wind, empty yet heavy with the weight of countless souls who met their fate there. Torturers smiling coldly as they prepare their tools, embodying evil cloaked in bureaucratic normalcy. A father burying his own child beneath the rubble, tears mingling with dirt in a moment of unbearable loss. The flicker of candlelight on the faces of those awaiting execution, their last moments bathed in haunting silence. A dirt-covered child stands alone amidst the ruins of a bombed city, her innocence shattered by fire and destruction, facing a bleak future born from the horrors of conflict. A pile of discarded shoes outside a camp fence, each pair representing a stolen life and shattered dreams.
Prisoners forced to march for miles with bleeding feet, collapsing only to be beaten back to their feet by cruel guards.
The scream of a woman as her home is bulldozed, years of memories erased in minutes by the machinery of war. A child clutching a tattered doll in a bombed-out street, the fragile remnant of a life stolen by conflict. The deafening silence after a massacre, broken only by the soft cries of survivors amid the ruins. Soldiers laughing cruelly as they loot homes and destroy livelihoods, reveling in their unchecked power. A guard's shadow looming over chained prisoners. A constant reminder of the ever-present threat of violence. The shattered remains of a family photo album scattered on the floor, pages torn and stained with tears. A wounded soldier begging for water as comrades fall lifeless beside him. The agony of survival and loss intertwined. The cold gaze of a war criminal as victims' testimonies strip away every lie and defense. A woman clad in an SS uniform clenches her fists tightly at the trial, a stark symbol of cruelty now facing the long-overdue justice she has evaded for years. A burial trench half-filled with bodies, some still clutching makeshift weapons in their final moments of defiance. The final letter of a doomed prisoner, filled with desperate hope and despair, never to be sent or read. A child's skull crushed beneath a soldier's boot. The silence of death louder than any gunfire. Innocence obliterated by merciless brutality in the name of war. Mass executions carried out in secret pits, bodies thrown like refuse, their final gasps swallowed by the earth's cold embrace. Victims stripped naked, starved, and forced to drink their own urine in overcrowded camps, where hope died before the last breath. A mother's body riddled with bullets, collapsed over her child's lifeless form. The unspoken cost of unchecked hatred and vengeance. Torture chambers echo with screams that shatter the night, as victims' bodies are broken piece by piece with no mercy or respite. Survivors forced to witness the rape and murder of their families, powerless to intervene, left forever scarred by trauma. The stench of decomposing corpses fills the air as unmarked graves multiply beneath the blood-soaked ground. Victims hung by their wrists from rafters until their bones snap, their eyes wide with eternal terror and pain. Mass graves in a forest hide the bodies of thousands executed without trial. Their silent presence, a haunting reminder of the depths of wartime cruelty and forgotten lives. A line of prisoners forced to march barefoot through icy mud, their cries drowned by relentless gunfire and indifferent guards. The final moments of a condemned prisoner, bloodied and broken, begging for forgiveness from ghosts that will never answer. A child's severed hand clutching a bloodied toy in the rubble, the cruel emblem of innocence lost to war's cruelty. Soldiers burning villages alive, watching children scream, and homes turn to ash under a blood-red sky. Victims' faces frozen in silent agony. Photographs capturing the last trace of life before merciless death. Guards forcing starving prisoners to fight each other to the death for twisted amusement. A grotesque parody of survival. Mass graves uncovered years later, bones intertwined in a macabre puzzle of human suffering and forgotten justice. A soldier's boot crushing a human face in the mud, the ultimate expression of domination and dehumanization. Medical experiments performed without anesthesia. Victims' bodies writhing in unbearable pain. Science corrupted by madness. The slow drip of blood from a mutilated limb, each drop a testament to cruelty beyond comprehension. A witness breaks down, voice trembling as they recount unspeakable atrocities witnessed firsthand. Their testimony a fragile beacon of truth against overwhelming darkness. Women branded as traitors, publicly humiliated, beaten, and left to die in cold prison cells. The chilling silence after a massacre, punctuated only by the whisper of wind through shattered bones. A baby left to die in the snow, abandoned by a world too cruel to protect its most vulnerable. Prisoners forced to inhale poisonous gas, coughing blood, as death tightens its grip with each agonizing breath. Corpses stacked like lumber in abandoned buildings. Windows shattered by the screams of the dying. Children's voices silenced forever by gunfire, their empty shoes left as haunting memorials. The grotesque sight of mangled bodies twisted in the wreckage of bombed-out homes, innocence shattered in an instant. Torturers sharpening blades while victims beg for mercy, their pleas falling on deaf ears of cruelty incarnate. A family torn apart by firing squads, last embraces broken by the crack of the gun. The cold eyes of war criminals meeting their victims' gaze for the final time. Justice closing in like a guillotine. A man with a bandaged face sits broken after brutal torture in a secret prison, his battered body and shattered spirit testifying to the horrors inflicted under cover of war. Victims' ashes scattered by the wind, their stories lost to time but seared forever into human conscience. A child's blood-soaked handprints smeared on cold concrete walls, the last desperate attempt to hold on before the screams were silenced forever. Victims' bodies mutilated beyond recognition, discarded in frozen trenches where death came slow and merciless like the biting winter wind. A lone survivor crawling from a mass grave, his eyes haunted by the shadows of those buried alive beside him. Soldiers laughing as they set fire to homes, trapping families inside to watch them burn alive under a sky darkened by smoke and death. The chilling sight of emaciated prisoners chained naked to walls, their skins stretched tight over bones, eyes hollow with despair. Children's cries swallowed by gunfire as their parents are dragged away, never to return from the forced labor camps. A father forced to bury his own child in the ruins of a bombed-out schoolyard, each shovelful of dirt burying a piece of his soul. Medical experiments leaving permanent scars. Victims' bodies twisted by agony while doctors record data with cold detachment. A mass execution site where blood mixes with mud, turning the earth into a grim palette of suffering and loss.